Hey, this is Jamie from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the brand new Star Wars The Deck Building game. When I heard about this, as much as I love Star Wars, I was like, another dueling deck building game where I'm going against another player. I already have Star Realms. I already love Shards of Infinity and Star Realms. And I play Magic whenever a new draft comes out. Different type of deck building, but kind of scratches that same itch. But then I heard about a mechanism that I had a hunch would be my favorite mechanism. It was a great hook, and I just finished my first game just a few minutes ago, I wanted to talk about this right away because this mechanism is really, really cool. In Star Wars: The Deck Building game, it is really very similar to Star Realms, the game Star Realms, if you're familiar with that, where you're dueling against one other player. Instead of taking out their life, in this game you have some bases that you're trying to destroy. You're trying to destroy 3 bases, and that in itself is a really cool mechanism. That I have a few different bases. When you destroy one of them, they're mostly planets. When you destroy one of my planets, at the beginning of my next turn, I pull out another planet, and that is my new base. And once you've destroyed 3 of them, the game ends, and you kind of track the health of those planets using some tokens. That in itself is really cool. And in this game, you are also going through your deck, like in a Star Realms style game, where you're drawing 5 cards, you're playing out those cards, and again dealing damage to the planets, and also gaining some cards to improve your deck. There's also one of my favorite, and this isn't even my favorite mechanism, but I love it in the game. There is a force track. Looks like this. It's kind of just a little track here. Same thing on both sides, where it tracks if the force is with the rebels or if the force is with the Empire. And so if it's anywhere on this side of the track, anywhere other than the neutral space right in the middle, the force is either with the Empire or the rebels. One player is playing with the rebels, one player is playing as the Empire. So I love tug of war tracks in games, especially in 2-player games. This tug of war track works really, really well, where all you're really gaining is an extra resource at the beginning of the turn if the force token is all the way over on one side. But if the force is just with you, there are certain cards that say if the force is with you, this card gets better, basically. All that is really cool. But the mechanism that really hooked me, that drew me in, I would say the tug of war mechanism drew me in too, because I really do love that. But the mechanism that really hooked me in this game is the idea that the cards in the card row, the random cards that come up in the card row that you can typically in a deck building game and in this game you can acquire, not only can you acquire them, but for many of them you can take them out of the card row. You can essentially attack them. You are attacking those cards instead of those cards once your opponent has gone out of the way to attain those cards. I really, really like this. Let me show you first what a neutral card looks like, because shuffled into this big deck of cards, you only have to shuffle this one deck. Shuffled into this deck are neutral cards like this. This is a neutral card. You cannot impact this card in the card row using the standard rules. It is just, if it shows up in the card row, it remains there. That's in the card row. However, there are also cards that look like this. Oh, actually, and there are also ships that come out in the card row that look like this. You can acquire it by paying 2. Even though this ship has some damage that it can take, it's only taking that damage, or it can only be dealt damage. You only care about that number if a player has played this. So when it's in the card row, you can't do anything about this card. However, finally get to the sweet spot here. There are cards that look like this that come out. And really, if I am playing, say I'm playing I was playing the Imperials in my game. So these cards, when these cards are in the card row, they're actually upside down for me. They look like this. Whereas Darth Vader, who is a card that I can acquire, is right side up. So Darth Vader, I'm looking at this number 8. I can use 8 resources to get Darth Vader into my deck. And once that happens, once he's in my deck, there's pretty much nothing the opponent can do about that. Darth Vader is going to come out. He's part of my team, part of my crew. However, I am also looking at these cards in the card row. And as you can see, the cost of these cards is not face up to me. Instead, this number is face up. And if I want, I can spend combat, the military resource in the game, power. I can spend that resource to remove these cards from the card row. I can take out Luke Skywalker before my opponent can even acquire Luke Skywalker. I can spend 8 resources to take him out of the card row. And in doing so, I also gain a reward. It says gain 4 resources and gain 4, the force. Gain 4 force if I take him out of the card row. This is brilliant. This is a really, really cool addition to the deck building mechanism. Perhaps it's in one of the many of hundreds of other deck building games, but I have not seen this before. This idea that certain cards in the card row can be removed can be essentially attacked. I can attack the cards in the card row because these cards are out there. These characters are out there in the world. They just haven't fully signed up for the Rebels or the Imperials yet. They're just out there for the taking, for sabotaging, for bounty hunters to take out. And not only am I taking them out in a way that prevents the opponent from getting them, as I should have in the game against Megan a few minutes ago. I should have taken out Luke Skywalker because she got Luke and totally wrecked me with Luke. I should have taken him out before then. Not only that, but I'm also getting that one-time reward where there's an incentive for me to take Luke out at that moment. And even on top of that, not only am I removing him from the card row, but whenever you remove a card from the card row in this game, you get to replace it right away. So I might remove Luke right away, and if I have some resources left over, because I use combat to take care of Luke, I might have some resources to spend to gain a card left over, so the card that replaces Luke might be a card that I can actually buy. I don't know for sure, but it might be. This mechanism is so cool. It is really, really cool. It feels great. And especially in a dueling game. Megan and I played dueling games together, but I don't always, if Megan has invested in a card that she has added to her deck or invested in a thing that she has gained, it doesn't feel great for me to destroy that thing, even in a dueling game. But in this game, I'm taking a card out before Megan has invested in it. And so it didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad doing that. I maybe felt a twinge of guilt by taking out a card that I thought that she could benefit from. But because she hadn't invested in it yet, I did not feel all that bad. And so I thought that was a great twist to a dueling game where I could really impact my opponent. I really could. I could impact her deck quite a bit, but only before she could have invested in that card. Really, really cool mechanism here. As you can tell, I'm really excited about it. I'm excited to try again and play as the Rebels to see how they feel, because I played the Imperials this time. But yeah, that's my favorite mechanism in the game. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you are familiar with this type of mechanism appearing in another deck building game, let me know. As I said, there are many deck building games out there. It might appear in one of them. I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you've played Star Wars: The Deck Building Game or have heard about it and have some thoughts about the mechanisms in it, let me know about them in the comments below as well. Thanks.